The Timberwolves season, it came to an abrupt end last night. This one was over early. Minnesota trailed by 29 at the half. That's their worst first half in team postseason history. It was also their worst defensive effort of the playoffs. They gave up 124 points to the Mavs. So here's Anthony Edwards on what exactly went wrong.
We never clicked all together as a team in this series. Not even one game. I think that was the main thing. In the last two series, we was all clicking at one time, making shots and stuff. We wasn't clicking at one time now.
What's your emotions as the season now comes to an end about what you accomplished and where it fell short?
I just said we'll be back next year.
So Ant says that they'll be back, and honestly, I have no reason to doubt him. When we look back, I think this season is going to be the year that the 22-year-old, he became a household name. He had multiple 40-point games en route to knocking out the reigning champs, don't forget, this postseason. He drew comparisons to a young Michael Jordan, and his charismatic press conferences, they've become as much a must-see as his dunks on the court. Look at this, too. He became the second player ever with 400 points, 100 rebounds, 100 assists in a single postseason at age 22 or younger, joining pretty elite company. You've heard of him, LeBron James in 2007. So here's Justin Tinsley to explain why the losses like last night might make the eventual triumphs even sweeter.
Can one truly appreciate the mountaintop without setbacks or heartbreak?
Dallas was too much. This is embarrassing if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Even with the Western Conference Finals loss, Anthony Edwards, sports' most charismatic superstar, was the breakout force of the 2024 NBA playoffs. He barked at Kevin Durant, one of his basketball idols.
That was probably one of the best feelings ever in my whole life.
He led the charge in a second-round upset of the world champion Denver Nuggets.
It's a three. What a comeback by Minnesota.
But in the NBA, growing pains play out on the world stage. Just look at history. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar captured his first title in his second season and didn't win again for nearly a decade. Magic Johnson, a five-time champion, remains haunted by the 1984 finals and the tragic Johnson moniker that came from it. Michael Jordan went 6-0 in the finals, but not until he got past the bad boys. Shaq was swept by Hakeem. Kobe airballed those shots in Utah. LeBron lost in the finals twice before he saw the view from the NBA's pinnacle. And Steph Curry was the unanimous MVP before his team blew a 3-1 lead in the finals. No story worth telling amidst adversity. Such is the reality of Anthony Edwards. Yet instead of outrageous comparisons, let Ant-Man be Ant-Man.
It's not cocky, it's not arrogance, I'm just a confident person. I just think I'm the best in everything that I do.
All too often in life, we tend to skip to the end of the book before letting chapters write themselves. And if it's anyone who doesn't need any help coming up with their own words,
I just want to kill everything in front of me, man. That's the main thing.
Don't never worry about me being locked. I'm here. Bring your ass.
It's Anthony Edwards.
You can't help but smile watching that. Anthony Edwards is so much fun. I'll miss seeing him on the floor night in and night out. But Justin Tinsley started that fantastic essay by asking, do you need to feel heartbreak before you get to the mountaintop to truly appreciate it? Richard, you've
done it a few times.
I wasn't going to say it.
Let me say this. No, you do not need it, but it's a part of the journey. Outside of Magic Johnson, who won it in his rookie year, but he showed up with Kareem and Norm Nixon and a loaded squad. But ultimately, history shows us that you have tons of failure before you have ultimate success. We love to talk about Jordan's 6 rings. We don't talk about all the years he was getting clapped by Boston, clapped by Detroit. That's just the truth, right? But then he gets there, and that's why we hold Michael Jordan in such a high regard, because once he held the mountaintop, it was his. There wasn't any up and down. So I look at Ant and say this is a part of the journey. We look at Luka right now. What happened with Luka? Got to a conference finals, couple of years trying to figure out the team, then boom, now they're back in the finals.
Right.
So this is a part of the journey. No one gets to skip it. I think this was a big step for the Timberwolves and for Ant.
And the question is, what's the next step going to be in terms of if this is the roster that they believe they can get to that ultimate mantle with? Because if you look at their off-season, right, the Wolves, they can keep their main rotation intact. I know this is a lot of information here, so we're going to leave it up for just a second. Only Kyle Anderson is a free agent. This is all according to Bobby Marks. Minnesota has $196.2 million in committed salary that is factoring in the first-round pick that they have, and they would also be over the second apron, which, ooh, that spooky word again, the second apron. Rudy Gobert is under contract for at least one more season, Cat for 3 more seasons. They both, though, have player options. So now that we're sort of digesting all of this, Zach, do you think that Cat and Rudy are the right running mates for Anthony Edwards? Should they run back this roster?
It depends what the alternative is, because we know we have proof of concept. The structure of this team as is can get pretty damn far. And yeah, it feels disappointing today, getting blown out at home, losing 4-1. But do not sneeze at unseating the defending champions in 7 games with 3 road wins, including Game 7 in Denver. And Cat, who's going to get all the focus in however they may have to remake their team going forward because of his contract. He was outstanding in that series. And you have to come to grips with this. If you decide to make a Cat move that is at least partially for financial reasons, you have to accept that that may mean a step back at least a little bit on the court until you can kind of reorient your team and see what you get in return for him and everything fits. And it's going to be hard to do that because the West is loaded. There are young teams that are getting better. There are teams in their prime that are going to stay right where they are. And so if it's me, it's not my money, but if it's me, this team proved enough that it should get another chance to be kept together, as awkward as it can be sometimes. They're pretty damn good. And yeah, you can break it up, you can move pieces around. You might not be quite as good, and years can go by before you get back to this level again.
I say don't break it up. Don't break it up. Like, give this group, give this unit, what? You're confused? You think they should break it up?
I am agreeing with you.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, who is the dumbass that's saying break up this young team?
The idea is that you don't really want to lose when you are built to beat the defending champs. Your expectation is to be the champ. But then, yeah, this loss is humbling. The issue here is not that they have the wrong or right unit. You know, the real issue is how this unit is being utilized. When you have Karl-Anthony Towns that gives you 19 points per game, when you have Rudy Gobert who wins Defensive Player of the Year, when you have the 6th man of the year in Naz Reid, if you look around the NBA, and this is my post-stable, you are winning. Yeah. That is a win to have that type of ensemble. But when you beat the defending champs in the Nuggets, and you can beat them by going big, then you turn around and you struggle with small. It's about the adjustments in the game, not adjusting your players.
Man, if these boys would have had the path that Boston had, they'd be in the finals right now. Facts. So let's not break it up. Let's just keep it together and keep it pushing.
Speaking of Boston, how many times over the years, should the Jays break up? Luke and Kyrie?
That was perfect.
That wasn't us.
That was perfect.
That wasn't us.
No,